Well, a friend of Kelly's called us, and he asked Kelly, he goes, is Joe Daly your landlord? And Kelly says, yeah. Why? And he goes, well, your house is being foreclosed on. I saw it in the paper.
Okay.
And that was the first inkling we had, because he never let us know.
The landlord.
He never, you know, he had no obligation legally to let us know,
Right.
but he had an obligation morally
Right.
to let us know.
Well, out of consideration, you should have.
Mm.
Right. Yeah, I told you. So then what was the next step? Like when do you guys have to move?
Well, I
out?
called him, asked him about it,
Yeah.
and, you know, he told us that, oh, don't worry, it's gonna stay in the Daly family. And then on May 11th, everybody came outside and they auctioned it off. And the town was, you know,
Over here.
the town manager, Mr. Pandak, was here, and other people that bid on it. But the town was the highest bidder.
Right. About how many people were out there? Do you know?
Oh, probably
Dozen or so.
a dozen at least.
At least a dozen or so showed up for the auction.
But the town was the highest bidder. So then what happened? Does the town now become your landlord?
Yes.
Okay.
Technically, they are.
We went to the bank to try to find out, because Jean Dac Credit Union held the mortgage. So we went there to find out what we were supposed to do, and they told us, oh, we don't own it. The bank owns it. So we went
town.
next door. I mean, that the town owns it. So we went next door and spoke with Mr. Pendak, and he said, oh no, the bank still owns it.
Until they pass papers, I guess. Well, 30 days for them
Yes,
to pass
and
the
on
papers.
June
11th.
11th
Yeah.
of this year, they passed the papers and the town took ownership.
So what has the town told you? Do you have to move out by a certain date or?
They didn't give us a date. The town lawyer, who is James Hall senior from Chelmsford, sent us a letter saying that the property had been bought by the town and that we needed to vacate the premises as soon as possible.
Oh, really? And what did you, I know in your letter you said, did you ask him, can the town help us out at all?
Right. I've had a few conversations with him. He had sent us another letter basically saying the same thing, asking me to call him. So I called him, and he told me that the town was under no obligation to pay any of our moving expenses. And I questioned him about that. I said, even though we're being displaced, I thought that there was a new law if you're being displaced and it's not your fault, that they had to pay your moving expenses.
Right.
Only if the bank owns it. And so we are caught between a rock and a hard place, because we weren't expecting this. He never told us that the property had already once been put into foreclosure.
Actually, I believe 2 times before.
Yeah, but we had no idea.
We had no idea when we moved in
And
last year.
in fact, I told him, I said, oh, I want to be here for 20 years.
Right, when we first moved in last April, we were excited to be back in Dracut. Yeah, we told him we'd stay here.
Because I've lived in Dracut pretty steady for the
Our
last
whole
40
lives,
years.
pretty much.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
For the last 40 years.